Okay, we're going to do the sashay scarf, and first of all you need the sashay yarn. Need either an I or a J hook. I'm using the I hook today. It really doesn't matter. You could even use a H hook. It's just whatever works comfortable for you. The bigger hook is a little bit easier. You always want to pull from the inside, not the outside, and that's because that way your fabric won't stretch. So what you do is you just kind of reach in there and you wiggle your finger around till you feel something loose, and then you pull out, and you'll have it. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of a knot thing going on. You just, when you do, just untwist it and then set it aside. Okay, the sashay yarn is really nice because it has a definite top and bottom. If you're using the Picone, or there's another brand, I can't think of the name, you just kind of got to look for which side is heavier, and that's going to be your bottom. But the sashay has a definite top, and it's up here where these two are together, and then the bottom has this edge. So we're going to use these top two strands as our yarn. So that's what we're going to be putting on the hook, is both those strands together. And you're gonna be working with this raw edge as well for the first few stitches, because we don't want that to have to deal with it. It's really hard to sew that back in, so it's better to just do it right at the beginning. The sashay yarn, you just need one skein to do one scarf. It takes about 2 hours to make. And the Picone, you need 2 skeins to make the right length for an adult, but you could probably do a kid size with just the one skein. And then the other yarn that I can't think of the name of, it'll actually make a longer scarf than the sashay, so one skein's just fine. So the way you start is you have to do a slip knot, but we can't do a normal slip knot because this isn't normal yarn. So you're going to come from the back, and notice I'm not doing this one because this end isn't real safe. So I'm coming from the back, and I'm going to reach over here and grab these 2 pieces and pull it through, and that's going to be my slip knot. And then I'm going to do 4 chains, and like I said, I'm going to work this area in. So I'm going to reach over here and grab this and bring it through. That's the first chain. And then you'll see you have to kind of open this up to work with it. I'm going to pull this up and kind of scrunch it together. And again, just grab those top 2 parts, and hopefully it'll work. I pulled it too tight. In the beginning, you want to keep the loop really loose, because it helps for this working this raw edge in. So pull it back so you get the bigger loop. After that, it doesn't really matter. There's no gauge on this. Okay, that's 3. And it's basically, the whole thing is 4 chains and a chain to turn. So is basically what you're working off of. So 4 stitches and a chain to turn. So here I am at this very end. I'm just going to stick it in here and pull it through from my turn chain. And it's a little hard because of that thick end. Okay, and then we just turn it in on itself, and you'll see I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And they look kind of sloppy because we worked that end in, but trust me, they'll work out. Now this, it doesn't matter. You can go in the back loop side, you can go on the front side, you can pick up both loops. In the beginning, on the first row, it's usually easier just to pick up one side. And you're going to do half double crochet in each of those 4 chains. And the other thing is, you can either go in the one next to it or the one here. Don't fight it. Sometimes the one next to the thing will work. Sometimes you got to go out to that further one. It's not going to matter in the long run. So like I said, the first couple rows are a little difficult because it's tight, and you've worked that end in, so you've got a little bit of extra yarn in there. So there's 2, and there's 3, And we've got more to go. There's 4. And then again, you're going to do 1 to turn. Okay, now here's the key. You're not going to go back and forth. You're going to keep turning it in the same direction. And the reason is that's what creates the spiral. And so here now you can see my 4 chains pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we should be able to do both loops. And the only reason to do the both loops is it just makes for a tighter stitch. But like I said, it really doesn't matter. It just kind of depends how cranky your yarn is. I've done it strictly on an outside loop. I've done it alternating the sides, and they all come out just fine. So it really doesn't matter. Like I said, these take about 2 hours to do from start to finish, and it's a good project for, you know, if you're stuck watching TV, or, and by stuck I mean it's because the other people in your house want to watch a show you're not really interested in. It's good for making the commercials go by, so you can like just work it on the commercials if you need to concentrate on the show. So okay, the reason you pull from the center is because then the yarn doesn't stretch. And we've reached our 4, so now we're going to do our turn chain. And then again, see, I'm turning in the same direction. And anyway, so you pull from the center because that way the yarn does not stretch on you. I know there's people that still completely unroll their skeins and roll them into a ball, and you don't want to do that. The only time you need to do that is if you're literally taking yarn from the spinning wheel. The manufacturing equipment that makes the skeins these days take the stretch out when they wind it, and when you go and wind it into a ball, you're actually going to stretch your yarn out, and it's not going to work the way you want it to. So I highly recommend just not rolling it up into a ball. Like I said, you know, work from the inside of that skein, and you'll be a lot better off with your yarn. I know sometimes it's a hard time to find where to pull it, but it works out in the long run. Okay, so you can see as you go along, as you get further along in this, it gets a little bit easier to do, and you can get a little bit faster with it. The yarn is going to start to twist on you just because it does, and when it gets too hard to open it up, so you can see those top 2 strings, the trick I use is to, on the turning chain, I pull it really tight against the hook, and then I grab the yarn where it's coming out of the skein, and I just lift it up and it untwists. The needle acts as a weight on the bottom of it, and so it untwists really nicely. And so about every 2 or 3 or 4 rows you have to kind of do that. It's like, you can see it's getting pretty twisted right now, so I'll probably need to do that before I continue on. So like I said, you make your turning chain, pull it really tight against the hook. You're going to hold it here, and I'm actually like making it go straight a little bit here so I have room to lift it up so you can actually see this. And then you just kind of lift it up and it'll untwist. So and you just kind of let it dangle till it totally untwists. You can see there it goes, and then it's, you know, all nice and straight again. So that's the trick. And then you just got to kind of, you know, again, look and make sure you're not folding over, so make sure you're still turning in the same direction. So, and then open up your needle, your loop again, and then you're ready to, you know, go back to to doing your four half crochets. So again, this takes about 2 hours. It's a good thing to do if you have kids and they have practice. I made a lot of these when my son was at swim practice. So if your kids are at soccer or at swim or football or whatever, gymnastics, dance, this is a good little project to take with you. A lot of people come over and ask you what you're doing, so it's a good way to meet people too, if you're kind of into that. And this is pretty much what you do until you get to the end. So rather than bore you with 2 hours of watching me do this, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here and come back when we're a little bit closer to the end. So anyway, but you can see it's starting to get a nice little spiral. The end that we worked in, you can see it's really nice in here, so I don't have to deal with a raw edge. I don't have to worry about sewing in anything or tucking anything in. So again, you want to work that end in, and you can start to see it's starting to get its shape here. So anyway, I'll be back. So I just wanted to show you how much progress we've made. We're still not near the end of the skein, but you can see it's starting to come out, and this is about how much of the skein we have left to do, but we're still not near the end. Probably got another half hour or so to go. And like I said, you just want to, when you pick it up after you've stopped and started, make sure you're not folding back on yourself, and then you just go back in there and basically just keep doing these little half double crochets or half crochets. And you can, as you see, you can take the threads that are close to the needle, you can take the threads that are just a little bit away from the needle. It really doesn't matter. Don't fight it. You kind of don't, as far as this part of it, holding it, I just kind of tuck it back here to hold it tight, so I can see my threads, and then just kind of slide everything down as I'm going along. But there's no real easy way to hold this yarn, because it's not regular yarn. You don't want to loop it around your fingers, because if you do that, you'll twist it. So I just kind of open it up and then just grab it, and then it just kind of slides like that as I go along. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, so the fourth one. Okay, so here's a good example. It's fighting me to go through the 2. I made it, but it was fighting me. So in that case, I may have just gone through 1 loop. Again, it really doesn't matter with this. You can go through 1, you can go through 2. It's not going to affect the scarf. It's not going to make it longer or shorter or anything like that. So, and as you can see, you can't see where the stitching is. So there's the actual stitching. So again, it really doesn't matter. So alright, well, I'm going to go away again and come back when we're right near the end so you can see how to finish this off. Okay, so you can see we're at the end, and just like we did for the beginning, we're going to work this raggedy end in as we finish. So I just kind of, as you can see, just kind of twist the yarn on the end and grab whatever you can to come through here. And you just work it in. I just try to make sure I have at least 2 strings of stuff on the hook. And we're at the very, very end. I'm still going to grab this piece and bring it through. Try to bring it through anyway. And then just to make sure it's secure, I'll kind of come back through this back part and pull this through again, and then take those 2 ends and just tie a real quick little knot. I would say this is a good beginner project if they know how to do half double crochet. It's a little bit difficult because of the way the yarn is. Okay, so I still have these little loose ends, so I'm going to go in through here and just kind of weave those through. So that I know that they're in there good. Okay, so that's how the end looks. And it doesn't look real big because we haven't done the final step, which is to shake it out. So I'm going to move the camera and then show you how to do that. Alright, so this is the fun part, and you can see it's only about this long. You just grab it in the middle and literally whip it as hard as you can. And that's going to cause the ruffles to go in both directions, and you can see how it lengthens. So, you know, it's a fun thing you can have your kids do if you want to. Just make sure they don't hit each other. And shake in both directions, and it'll eventually lengthen out, and you're done. So that's the sashay scarf, and it's a really pretty little scarf to wear, and lots of fun, and hope you enjoyed.